What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So as we head through the month of February, there's a lot of anticipation that's building up for a Nintendo Direct or a Nintendo event of some kind. And wouldn't you know it, it appears that some games are starting to show up early on different retailers. We're going to go over that here today. Also, we're going to be talking about Google Stadia and how it does look like it's being deprioritized, with Google now even shopping around the service. And we're also going to be talking about not only Grand Theft Auto 5, but Grand Theft Auto 6, as it's now been confirmed to be underway in development. Big surprise. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Sifu. It is out tomorrow, except it technically released over the weekend. That alongside a review embargoes lifting, and we did get a Metacritic score. It's very, very split right now, but we can see this here post up. It's currently at an 81. Now, I mentioned it's split, but if you look at the positive, mixed, and negative, it's 44 and then 7, and then just 2 negative. However, if you read through the different reviews, it all comes down to how that particular reviewer dealt with the overwhelming difficulty at times. It was even mentioned that they had to do some work behind the scenes for reviews and all of this because it was just so difficult at the time. So maybe the day one patch, or I guess the patch that they probably released after the game came out a bit early on Sunday, was pushed. But that's the biggest thing here. It's a roguelike game where it is just punishing you constantly. And it sort of reminds me, of course, brings up the idea of like a Souls-like experience there, to where when you do overcome maybe a serious boss or a level and you run through it perfectly, it's very rewarding in that regard. But I do like the visuals. It looks like, I mean, the gameplay itself, very satisfying when it all clicks. So I'll be checking it out tomorrow because I'm still trying to get through Dying Light 2. That was my plan. Get through Dying Light 2 and then get to Sifu and then onward toward all the other releases that are coming up in the next 6 weeks. Also, we should be seeing emails going out to people in kind of the first batch of Steamdecks that'll be shipping out for confirmation around addresses, payments, all of this. Well, it looks like we're starting to see more and more pictures pop up online, giving us an idea as to just how large that Steam Deck is going to be. We can see this posted up on Twitter from Carrie. It's a thread full of images of the Steam Deck just next to other systems like the Vita. And yeah, the Steam Deck is quite the large system there. We even have an Atari Lynx, which is, it's great to see something like that. Couple of controllers like the Steam controller, and then you also have just an Xbox Series controller, a fully boxed Game Boy, and then many, many others. I mean, even systems like a Turbo Express. So Carrie came prepared for this photo shoot. A lot of people have been wondering about things like how the Switch looks next to it, which even that looks very small compared to the Steam Deck. I mean, the technology that they're putting into that Steam Deck, it just being portable in the first place, is impressive, but it also goes to show you how these portable systems, while they can pack a pretty serious punch when it comes to the chip inside of it, you generally have to sacrifice something, and for this case, it was the size of the Steam Deck. Certainly not something you're gonna be dropping in your pocket and walking around with. Oh, and it's been a year and a half since Skate 4, the next Skate game, was announced. It's very, very exciting stuff, but there was an interesting portion of the investors' call for EA pointing out maybe this game launching sooner than we thought. Take a look at this transcription here from Tweaktown. This from the CEO Andrew Wilson at Electronics Arts, saying it has been at the very center of The Sims for a long time. It's at the very center of modes like FIFA and Madden Ultimate Team. It's at the very center at the design of Skate, which will be launching soon. This talking about like user-generated content. Now, in Skate 3, they had like a park editor where you could technically create your different parks, share them, and all this. It was really cool to see that. But the game itself, potentially releasing like at the end of this year, that'd be like 2.5 years. Because remember, it was like EA Play E3 time in 2020, so this June it'll be 2 years. And when I hear the user-generated content being a big focus, it does concern me a bit that they'll feel more comfortable launching with less content and building it over time like a live service, which is sort of where I think they're positioning this now. So I hope they take all the time they need to create a really good Skate game, because it would be a shame if they rushed it. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this leaked game for the Switch. It's already kind of been talked about online, but then a retailer posted it up just randomly, and obviously that got the speculation running out of control that we are coming up on a Nintendo Direct. And I mean, I've been saying for a while, I thought it was going to happen like 2 or 3 weeks into February, and we're coming up on that now. But let's talk about the game that did leak, or games, as it's part of a collection. We can see this over on VGC saying Batman Arkham Collection has been listed for release on Nintendo Switch by a French retail site, that being WTT. And the funny part about this is WTT also leaked The Witcher 3 on the Switch, and no one believed that that was going to happen, because it's like, how in the world could they fit The Witcher 3 on the Switch? We've seen how it runs on other platforms like the Xbox One or even the PS4, but it happened. Saber went through a lot to get that game there, but they did, and it was all on one cartridge. Now, of course, none of that's technically related in terms of, oh, all these games being on one cartridge or it just working well. That the fact that it was listed on this particular retailer site, it does just make me think, okay, yeah, Batman Arkham Collection, I think it makes sense to go to the Switch, and seeing as this retailer has accidentally posted up correct listings, wouldn't be surprised this is something we see soon in a Direct. Now, if you remember the Batman Arkham Collection, it's already available on systems like the PlayStation 4, and it has Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. Now, if I remember correctly with this one, on the disc, you have Asylum and City, and then Arkham Knight is a download code in the box. And that's something I've been wondering about this. If they did this collection, I don't think Knight would be on the cartridge. In fact, I'm hopeful that at least Arkham Asylum and City would be there. I mean, those were Xbox 360 and PS3 games, so those seem like games that would run natively perfectly fine on the Switch. I do kind of wonder if Knight might be one of those games that just gets streamed. Like, you get a code that then allows you to basically stream the game. If they can get Arkham Knight on the Switch, that'd be pretty impressive. It did beat up the Xbox One and the PS4 back in the day when it released, and on PC it was just downright broken. But obviously the game itself has been patched and worked on over time, so that'd be something really cool to see on the system. In fact, we talk about those impossible ports. While I'm not ready to put Arkham Knight in that category, I just think seeing Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, which were incredible experiences on the Xbox 360 back in the day when I played through them, as something you can play portably, it is one of those, to me anyway, one of those mind-blowing experiences to have that on a Switch that you can walk around with and play. And the games still hold up really, really well. I'm a big fan of Arkham Asylum. I know Arkham City is technically a better game overall, but Asylum, I think, just hit at a great time. This is back in like 2008, and it was just a really good experience from Rocksteady. So if you've never played these and they do get announced, I would be on them immediately. We'll see, obviously, how things work out with the physical copy of the game, but I know a lot of people are going digital with their Switch now. But certainly 3 really good games. I liked Asylum the most, but City's good, and I honestly, I went back through Night pretty recently, and that's still really good. So we'll hopefully hear more about this in the coming weeks, as we're all kind of hanging out waiting for Nintendo to announce their next big event. Next up, let's talk about Google Stadia. Now, I did a video recently on Google Stadia, just 2 years later, checking in on it, seeing how it's doing, and while the platform itself still works fine, whether it's in the browser or on your Chromecast, there haven't been any big announcements for the platform. And after Google shut down the first-party studios, which they did pretty quickly after launching that platform, it was pretty obvious that we weren't going to see anything unique, I would say, for Google Stadia. Well, now with a new report from Business Insider, it does appear that the entire service is being deprioritized within Google, even to the point where they'd rather just kind of shop the technology around to other large publishers and developers. This from The Verge, quoting Business Insider, where they say, the entire Stadia project has been demoted within Google, and its new priority is to power experiences from companies including Peloton, Bungie, and Capcom, rather than attracting more games to Stadia itself. They even point out that Peloton bike owners might have already experienced this platform being kind of just shopped around and then even rented out to Peloton with their first game, Lane Break, that was powered by Google's cloud gaming technology. According to Business Insider, current and former employees said that the priority was now on proof of concept work for Google Stream, which is basically what they renamed their streaming server or their cloud gaming platform, and securing white label deals. One estimated about 20% of the focus was on the consumer platform. So the rest of it is all about trying to sell this service to other companies who would like to use it to stream their games. They say there are plenty of people internally who would love to keep it going, so they are working really hard to make sure it doesn't die, but they're not the ones writing the checks. Now, The Verge did get a statement from a Google spokesperson where they said, "We announced our intentions of helping publishers and partners deliver games directly to gamers last year and have been working toward that. The first manifestation has been our partnership with AT&T, who is offering Batman Arkham Knight available to their customers for free." You know, actually, this WB, I almost wonder if we would see the Switch get it streamed using Google Stadia's technology. Something to keep an eye on there, by the way, with that listing we just talked about. While I won't be commenting on any rumors or speculation regarding other industry partners, we are still focused on bringing great games to Stadia in 2022 with 200 plus titles currently available. We expect to have another 100 plus games added to the platform this year and currently have 50 games available to claim in Stadia Pro. In fact, there was a very public tweet that Google Stadia made over on Twitter saying, "If you hear one thing, hear this. The Stadia team is working really hard on a great future for Stadia and cloud gaming. We hope you agree, and we know the proof is in the playing." So the part of this whole situation that's a shame is that the technology behind it is good. It's just Google had no idea what they were getting into when it came to game development. I mean, they had this plan of like creating these studios internally, and they were gonna make games that took advantage fully of the power of the cloud. And then like a year and a half later, that was it. It was gone. And it is a shame because, yeah, I've tried Stadia and it works well. In fact, if anyone out there who has tried it, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the latency, the picture quality, all this, because it's, I think, better than what Xbox has with their game streaming and what Amazon has with Luna. I mean, if you look at Stadia, they have like 4K, HDR, surround sound, the whole thing. And it's just a better overall experience when you're actually playing the games. Unfortunately, you scroll through the games and there's nothing groundbreaking or unique to pull you to that service. And to me, this is the decision they should have made a long time ago. Sell the service as a utility rather than an entire platform. I'm not really sure what the future of the current Stadia platform is now, if like 20% of the focus is on that consumer platform and the rest is about selling the technology to companies like Capcom, which was named, even Bungie was named, and I almost wonder, they want their own streaming platform for maybe some of these other games they're developing, but also Destiny, so they can continue to reach more and more people. But that's kind of where we are with Stadia. Not a gaming platform, more or less just a service that they will continue to license out to these other companies. At least then we'll have unique games from different companies using a pretty good overall infrastructure and service from Google. Next up, let's talk about a sales update for Pokemon Legends Arceus. I was very curious to see how this would sell alongside the other Pokemon games because it seems like the reception online has been a lot of general excitement for the direction of this series. Even if people weren't super high on the visuals or some of the gameplay elements, I think the core foundation is there, and a lot of us, I would say, are hoping that Game Freak continues to build on this in the years to come. Well, it looks like this game is off and running when it comes to sales, so much so that Nintendo decided to just tweet out the sales figure for it. We can see this posted up saying, "Thank you to more than 6.5 million explorers worldwide who have already embarked on an exciting new adventure in Pokemon Legends Arceus." This was tweeted out on February 3rd, just after 9 p.m., and that's in a couple of days that it sold 6.5 million copies. In fact, I believe at this time it's faster than any other Pokemon game outside of, I think Sun and Moon sold a bit faster. But remember, Legends Arceus is a $60 game, whereas those were $40 copies. So if you match them up revenue-wise, it probably would still just go over to Legends Arceus. But this is really good to see because, as I said, I think this is what Game Freak needed. Just a shakeup overall when it comes to the gameplay. I don't know if this would become their primary focus going forward, but I feel like they could have this, the traditional Pokemon games, and maybe remakes or some other like different spin-off that they want to do. But I think Legends Arceus in like a 3-year cycle would match up really well as a game that comes out in the next Switch's launch year, if that's kind of the direction Nintendo's going in. And I think it would work to sell a ton of new Switch systems. So a lot of planning to do here, but looking at this, We could see Legends Arceus maybe pass Sword and Shield over time, especially if they add content going forward with downloadable content, whether it's quests, different parts of the world, Pokemon. The sky's the limit here, and I am curious what they have in mind for the Legends series going forward. In our last bit of news, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 5, as we had the announcement for release date on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, as well as Grand Theft Auto 6. At least that's what we're assuming is being mentioned here. Let's take a look. This was over on Rockstar Games' website, where they posted up a news update. They say, with the GTA 5 community stronger than ever, Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto Online will come to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X S platforms this coming March 15th. Remember, this was originally going to release at the end of 2021, but they had to delay it into 2022. They go on talking about some of the new features. That includes graphic modes up to 4K resolution, 60 FPS, texture and draw distance upgrades, HDR options, and ray tracing, as well as offering technical advancements of the latest console generation with faster load times, immersive 3D audio, and platform-specific features like advanced haptic feedback. Basically, it's still GTA 5, but it's going to look and run better, so that's great if you're someone who's really into playing it right now on your PS5 or your Xbox Series and you're technically playing it through backwards compatibility. But the thing that got everyone talking was the final paragraph on this page. We can see it says, with the unprecedented longevity of GTA 5, we know many of you have been asking us about a new entry in the Grand Theft Auto series with every new project we embark on. Our goal is always to significantly move beyond what we have previously delivered, and we are pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. We look forward to sharing more as soon as we are ready, so please stay tuned to the Rockstar Newswire for official details. This exploded online. Whenever GTA 6 releases, it is going to set records immediately. This is going to be one of the highest anticipated video game releases, I would say, of all time, just based on what GTA 5 has been able to do and become like one of the best-selling games ever made. And there's a lot of questions around what they're going to do with GTA 6 because there's high expectations to live up to right now. And of course, when is it going to come out? Now, Take-Two did have some talks and forecasts around their financials for the next 3 years. And based on what analysts are noticing in some of those documents, it seems like they're lining things up for a 2024 release or late 2023, because remember, GTA 6 will come out, but I'm sure they're anticipating a long tail of sales for GTA 6. So I'm thinking we're going to see it either, I'd say between holiday 2023 and holiday 2024. Somewhere in that year, it will release, it'll blow up the sales charts, and it'll be very, very exciting. But at least good to hear that they have confirmed that the next Grand Theft Auto is coming out. We just had to get through 3 different generations of GTA 5. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked 2 years later, have you tried out Google Stadia? 91% said no, and all that marketing and the big push that Google made, talking about these first-party studios that they closed down pretty quickly, but it felt like they're for a minute all in almost on this, right? Integration with YouTube, and they kind of just lost interest and wandered off. But the thing about this is, more people will probably try out Google Stadia after they just sell it to these other companies, because you might not even realize you're using it. Like, let's say we get to a point where Summer Games Fest happens, or E3, or just, big gaming event, and you do demos through streaming, and you don't realize it, but at the bottom there, it says, Google Streaming. And really, you're using Stadia without even knowing it. That is, I think, where they should have positioned this in the first place. Would have saved them a ton of money when it comes to hiring and creating first-party studios and marketing, and just quietly sold the technology to Nintendo or Capcom or Bungie or anyone who just wants to be able to stream their games in-house with really good quality and latency. But here we are now. Google just had to embarrass themselves for about a year or so before they figured it out. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Oblivion, saying, it'll be interesting to see what Nintendo does in the future. They're in a weird position. They can't really move to a next-gen console and ignore the 100 million Switches out there. I wonder what they'll do. They'll probably just keep rolling with the Switch for as long as they can. There's a lot of theories around what Nintendo is going to do or how they'll approach the next generation. They could do a clean break, or they could view it as iterative launches, as in, I know people laugh about the Switch Pro, but like a Switch that's still under the Switch umbrella, but it is more powerful. However, games work fine across all platforms. And they just kind of keep doing that, and eventually the Switch we know now is just kind of phased out, but it's still all called the Switch, and they just keep, kind of like how the iPhone, yeah, it's like an iPhone 6, 7, wherever they are now, but it's still called an iPhone. So I'm kind of thinking that's the way Nintendo will do this and continue to build this install base that, I mean, active users for them is like 90 million plus. So I think they realize, you know what, that Nintendo account ties everything together. Let's build on that with different Switch releases and just kind of keep things rolling with that brand. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. Really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether it's the Batman Arkham Collection heading to the Switch, at least according to one retailer. Let me know if you've played those games before and if you'll be picking it up on the Switch. Also, what about Google Stadia? Are you surprised to hear that it's being deprioritized and even shopped around for other developers and publishers to take advantage of? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.